Are you ready, John?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to put the battery in.
Okay.
Please, will you count us down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
Certainly.
Okay, here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Can you remember when you were first called Motty?
I can. I was at boarding school in Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk. My father had sent me to a Methodist school, and my name Motson quickly became abbreviated to Motty, and I think I've been called that probably for the rest of my life.
Who is the best player, do you think, that you've ever commentated on?
It's a difficult one to call between two famous overseas players who changed the game over here. Eric Cantona at Manchester United would be a leading candidate, but I think Thierry Henry, for his performance at Arsenal, would run him very close.
Is there a most memorable moment?
Yes, there is. When David Beckham took his free kick against Greece at Old Trafford in 2001, which effectively put us through to the World Cup finals in the 94th minute. I think Trevor Brooking and I lost our cool completely. I remember microphones being pulled out and tables being knocked over and commentators running down the gantry, which I must say I've never allowed myself to do before or since.
And a most memorable match that you've commentated on?
Yes, I think Germany won England 5 in Munich in 2001 when Sven-Göran Eriksson had just taken over. Michael Owen scored a hat-trick, and I was absolutely amazed to see England beat our nearest rivals by that amount of margin. And I see it's getting better and better and better. And a few weeks later, I was in a street in London, and somebody crept up behind me, and a voice whispered, "It's getting better and better and better." And it was Sven-Göran Eriksson. He just watched the video.
Amazing. Do you know how many matches you've commentated on?
Well, I've done it for 40 years, television commentary, and I've normally averaged between 40 and 50 games a season, so it would be somewhere short of 2,000.
And which do you prefer, commentating on radio or television?
That's the most difficult question you've asked me, because I get a great pleasure out of both. My preparation and homework doesn't change. I do it exactly the same way for each. I quite enjoy the freedom and flexibility of radio, because you can more or less speak how and when you like without being governed by the picture people are watching. But television is very challenging, and when people can see everything that's going on the pitch, the commentator has to find a way of avoiding obvious description and go into more interpretation.
Tell me a little bit about your preparation. How do you prepare for a game?
Well, my wife keeps a very meticulous record book, season after season, week after week. She denotes all the games, the results, the scorers, the appearances, the newspaper cuttings. So I've got a great start there. On a Thursday afternoon and a Friday, I draw up a chart with felt tip pens. I'm very non-computer trained, I'm afraid. And I have the players' names on one side of the chart in different colours with little biographical notes alongside each of them. Then on the back of the piece of card, I have my statistics and sequences for what each team has been doing in recent weeks, how long they've gone unbeaten, when they lost last at home, that sort of stuff. And when I've done that chart, I like to think I've committed most of it to memory. So although I have it in front of me while I'm doing the game, hopefully I don't have to refer down to it too often.
And are there nerves before a game?
There used to be. When I started, I used to get very wound up about what would happen if I made a mistake. I've learned to be much calmer about it now. I'm still apprehensive in the sense that I need to convince myself that I know all the players and the substitutes and their numbers, and I'm not going to get caught out by something obvious. But if things don't go quite perfectly the way I want them to, I don't get quite so upset about it now.
Did you want to be a commentator as a boy growing up?
Not directly. I wanted to be a football reporter, which is what I was when I left school, because I joined a local newspaper in Barnet and got the chance to do the written word, if you like. I moved to the Sheffield Telegraph, and one afternoon I'd written a piece of copy, and the sub on the other side of the desk took one look at it. He said, "Motson, if I were you, I'd stick to broadcasting and forget about writing," because I'd just started doing a bit of freelance work on Radio Sheffield. So I think they knew where my strengths and weaknesses lay.
How has football changed since you started?
Immensely. When I started, there were no sponsors. There wasn't much advertising around the ground. The corporate side hadn't blossomed. Obviously, the money was a lot less. The players all wore 1 to 11 and they were only allowed one substitute. There wasn't the glamour around the grounds either. The two teams came out almost apologetically, separately bouncing the ball. They didn't walk on the pitch like it's theatre now. It's unrecognisable from then.
Is there one thing you'd like to change about football as it is today?
I'd like to give the forwards a bit more advantage when it comes to offside. I think all too often now we're still giving the benefit of the doubt to the defender.
Interests outside football quickly?
Theatre, running, popular music, reading.
And that is 5 minutes.
Very good. You do well. Well done.
Thank you.
I've got it now. I see what you understand it now.